Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning and happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Welcome into a new edition of Batter Up, sponsored by Halpern's Cards and Collectibles here on the Sports Insanity Network. Mike Rifkin, Danny Boy Reginald, Dan Ryan's with you. Dan, how are you, my friend?
Good. I mean, I had a good night's sleep. It's been very, very good. This weekend's been very, very, very awesome. Obviously doing the work that I love while also not, you know, doing too much.
Mm.
All that. So far, so good of a weekend. No Yankees on Saturday, so that was actually a plus because that debacle on Friday night against the Red Sox was something that I didn't want to handle.
Yeah, they're playing two today up at Fenway.
They're gonna get their asses swept because
Wow.
that's what they are. They're not a good team right now.
Wow. And I thought I was negative, but all right. We're coming in hot. All right. We are going to start today. We're going to talk about three of the hottest teams. But we got to talking before we went live and hit the record button. And then let's just start it with the team we were talking about before we went live here. The Cincinnati Reds are 8-2 in their last 10. They've won 7 in a row, and they find themselves a half game back in the National League Central Division.
And 2.5 from that last wild card being held by the Giants right now. So they're within striking distance of a playoff spot. Within these last few weeks, their playoff chances have risen just because the Brewers suck, the Cubs suck, the Pirates suck, and the Cardinals suck. It's literally them surging right now with the talent that they have, the young talent that they're bringing up, and then just playing good baseball and gathering that momentum. It's pretty solid stuff from Cincinnati. And they're honestly, if they continue this way, they're going to be the team to beat.
Yeah, and listen, you said the rest of this division is just like the Pirates have fallen off a little bit since their great start. The Brewers, I don't know what they are. They're up and down. The Cardinals just flat out suck at this point. And the Cubs, if they win today, they'd win 6 in a row, but they're still under 500. And they have some pieces there, and I don't know what direction they're looking to go to. This division's here for the Reds. And you look at the schedule, they just won the first 2 games against the Houston Astros in Houston.
And how about that 10-3 clobbering? Yes.
That's after they took care of business against the Cardinals. That's after they took care of business against the Dodgers.
Yeah.
And after their game today in Houston, they go play the Rockies, who aren't any good. Then it gets a little bit tougher. Then they'll play the Braves and the Orioles before the Padres come to town. But the Padres haven't shown anything either, so they can take advantage. And you talk about the young talent that this team possesses. I mean, Jonathan India, who was a rookie of the year a couple of years ago, been great. Spencer Steer, Jake Fraley, this Ellie De La Cruz guy who's come up. And
yeah, which I think India was kind of scared that he was going to be dropped out of the lineup for De La Cruz because I know the infield's kind of crowded in Cincinnati. But there's no reason to take India out because he's been brilliant.
yeah,
And then
leads team with 9 homers.
Yeah. So no, he's doing pretty well, and the De La Cruz's arrival hasn't really changed much, and this Reds team is on fire. You spit out all the names already. Like it's right now that is a cohesive group, and look, I'm telling you that is just a team that's hot, a team that's hungry, a team that isn't afraid to just step out there, and it's proving huge benefits right now.
They're young. There was no expectations for them, so they could play loose.
Yeah.
And here's where I give the front office a little bit of credit, because as fans, we are very quick to say after 2 years at times, manager's not working, get rid of him, let's move on. They've been patient knowing there was a youth movement coming, and they've kept David Bell at the forefront of it. And it's worked out here. And that's part of the reason you have to give them a lot of credit. They have a young pitching staff led by Hunter Green, who has
Brilliant.
just crazy stuff. Easy gas at 100 miles an hour. Pretty good slider, too. This is a team. If they can get a guy at the trade deadline, and I know I'm fast forwarding here, to plug in at the top next to Hunter Green, knowing that some of these other guys may have innings limits, that would go such a long way for them.
Who's going to be that seller that's willing to trade with the Reds? It's not going to be anyone from the division.
I don't expect them to call a team like the Cardinals, but what's to stop you from calling a team like the White Sox and say, hey, what's the price tag on Lucas Giolito, or what's the price on a Lance Lynn? Yeah, I know the White Sox are still technically alive, but they're still 10 games under. What's to stop you from calling the Nationals and say, hey, what's the price tag on Patrick Corbin? You know, that would be a guy that might intrigue, pitched in the playoffs before. So that I'm not guaranteeing the Reds are going to make the playoffs, but I'm saying if you get another top starter, it enhances your chances.
Yeah. The bottom line is the pitching staff, they could use that ace because they currently don't have one yet, or not one that's like certified. So if you can get someone that could go long, that could be that guy for now until one of these young guys becomes the true ace of the staff. Hold down the fort and just, continue to grow and make that playoff push. Give this team more confidence. That is what the Reds do. They're in a great position if they keep up. Obviously, we've seen this happen before where teams get hot, then teams fall off. So, we're still over a month away from the deadline. So we can't be rushing into things thinking over. But the Reds seem like, look, with the way things are going right now, it's hard not to include the Reds in the conversation. Again, striking distance, either division or wild card. They're in it. And they have young studs that are actually good. This is a team that lost 100 games a year prior.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're talking about them as possibly.
They're half a game out of the division lead.
Yeah.
It speaks to how great they've played, but, it also speaks to how bad the division is. But listen, you take what you can get. You can't penalize them because they've played in the same division for years. But listen, if you're Reds, just keep going for the sweep today in Houston.
Yeah, how about that? Houston Astros, that's no cookie.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, I know. It was I believe it was 2-1 on Friday, and then the clobbering on Saturday, which is just absolutely terrific.
While they've surged, it was 2-1 Friday and 10-3 yesterday. Yeah. While they've surged, the Pirates are 2-8 in their last 10, lost 5 in a row, but they're still a game and a half out. So and the Cubs are 3 out. Cardinals are 8.5, but I'm not going to believe in the Cardinals until they show me life, which means they're going to beat up Carlos Carrasco today and wind up winning against the Mets. But that's a whole nother conversation. Another team surging. Again, another team I don't think anyone saw surging. The Marlins, The Marlins have won 3 in a row. They're 7-3 in their last 10, and they're 5 games in back of the Braves in the National League East. And let's be real honest here. They've done all of this damage while not having the best from Sandy Alcantara, the reigning National League Cy Young Award winner, who has an ERA of, his ERA is 4.97.
Yeah, which is a
Sandy Alcantara is at 4.97 ERA.
massive 180 from last year.
Yeah.
It's not even close.
Yeah.
I will say this about the Marlins.
Mm-hmm.
That's also a group that's, I wouldn't say that they're there yet. There's still a lot of concerns. Pitching, hitting's okay, but it's not quite there yet. There's still a little concerns with the team. But this is another team that has entered the National League conversation just because they're winning a lot of games against, good teams. These aren't bad teams that they're facing. This is the National League. The National League is by far the best league of the two leagues here.
The other thing is they're winning 1-run games. I think they're now 18-5 in 1-run games, which last year I think they were 21-40, 24-40, something like that. But offensively, Luis Ariz is hitting 388. We've talked about him on the cusp of 400 potentially.
Of course, that's not going to happen. But
listen, we could dream. Jorge Soler, who likes to hit balls to the solar system, he's got 20 home runs. That's what they need from him. And their younger guys are playing well. De La Cruz, guys like that. They're doing this without Jazz Chisholm, who's been on the injured list, but this is a scrappy team. Mm-hmm. Actually, this is the same kind of Marlins team that won them a World Series in 2003 and in 1997. They pitch really well, and they're scrappy. Mm-hmm. That's kind of who they are.
Yep.
And it's kind of the identity of their manager, Skip Schumacher, who was a scrappy player himself. Mm-hmm. So, and again, these two teams in particular, we'll get to a third team who's played really well too. These two teams in particular, along with teams like the Pirates, this is great for baseball when these small marketed teams are playing insanely well, because then you could sit there and say, okay, you don't have to spend as much money as some of the other teams to be as good. It's about preaching patience with the farm system. Yeah. And it's a good thing for baseball to have this. And it's not just Dodgers, Yankees, Red Sox, Phillies, all these other teams. I mean, the prime example of that would be the Braves, but it's great to see for the Marlins, first-year manager Skip Schumacher, the Reds, David Bell, I believe is in his third or fourth year. And then the last team we'll talk about who's red hot. The Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim are 7-3 in their last 10. And Dan, there are no more words. Mm-hmm. Shohei Ohtani is the best baseball player on the planet Earth.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, the only reason why he can take that is because my fellow broski, Aaron Judge, is injured. He has an injured toe. Otherwise, he's not the best player. It's Aaron Judge. But, of course, Ohtani is taking Judge's injury to his advantage. He's on a 14-game inning streak, and he has the home run lead across all of baseball right now. And this dude's hitting for power, and he all around player wise, pitching, hitting. He's done some spectacular stuff. Like, I got to give him props where props to do. I think it's time that we start thinking about Ohtani, with the type of player he is, the two-way player that he is. I'm starting to think he's coming into his own, And it's okay to acknowledge that. It's something that I've been concerned about for years, but now I can sort of see it.
So here, this is ESPN. Here's the team leaders offensively for the Angels. Batting average, Shohei Ohtani's hitting 300. Home runs, Shohei Ohtani is 23. RBIs, Shohei Ohtani 56. On base percentage, Shohei Ohtani 385. Hits, Shohei Ohtani 82. Let's go to pitching for just a second. Wins, Shohei Ohtani 6. ERA, Shohei Ohtani 3.29. Strikeouts, Shohei Ohtani 105. The only thing he doesn't lead it is saves, and that's because he's a starter. The dude is 6-2 with a 3.29 ERA with 105 strikeouts, all while leading all baseball with 23 home runs. He's a show. He literally is a show. He's a one-man show. It's great for someone's going to give him what, 600 million in the offseason, 540. What are we looking at?
There's no hiding from the big numbers anymore. He has time and time again proven that he is a great baseball player.
Yeah, here's the other thing. Like, I'm saying all this great stuff about him, and he's great. Meanwhile, I could say, "Oh, Mike Trout's got 14 homers." So, hey, I'm looking at it like you're still 9 behind Shohei, Mike Trout. But the best thing for the Angels is Trout has stayed healthy. Ohtani has stayed healthy. Hunter Renfroe, who was a great addition in the offseason, he stayed relatively healthy. They just lost your guy Giovanni Urshela to an injury, but they've done some things. Like, I challenged them before the season. I said, I will not talk about them until they show we can hang with the big boys. Well, guess what? This week, they win 3 of 4 in Texas. They'll play the Royals in a rubber game today, but you win that. Okay, guess what? They are tied with the Astros, being 4.5 games back of the Texas Rangers. I can't sit here and belittle the Angels, can't belittle the job that Phil Nevin has done. This is a team, listen, whether Joseph Gordon-Levitt's in the crowd signaling to other Angels or not, this team is here. Now, on top of everything they've got to probably do, the top priority obviously is signing Ohtani to an extension, but just stay relevant for our sake, because we, and when I say we, I mean the baseball fan, Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani on the world's biggest stage, and it's not even the World Baseball Classic. We need to see those guys in the playoffs.
Yes. And it's time that they make the playoff push to do that. The baseball, to their credit with that, Mike, has done more than enough to ensure that teams like the Angels, if they stay hot and stay healthy and all that stuff, that they have a chance to make the playoffs. We need stars in the playoffs. In every other sport, there's a star in the playoffs. We need stars in the playoffs in baseball. So this is about the time. And look, the Angels, obviously I've ripped the Angels apart. They got some really bad contracts that have not lived up to anything over the years. And yeah, I gave them a ton of crap. Look, the Angels have done pretty well. And I think that it just starts with the lineup that they have. It starts with Ohtani being an incredible baseball player. It starts with Trout, not necessarily, he obviously he's no longer the player he once was, like, 10 or even 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. But we are starting to see that team come together too. And that's a good thing. It's a good thing for Anaheim. It's a good thing for those fans over there. And they deserve this. They deserve this moment. Baseball deserves this moment. We get to see Ohtani go on a playoff run.
Yeah.
Isn't that exciting?
Trout's been in the playoffs one time in his whole career.
Yeah, we gotta give him some World Series love. That'd be pretty nice.
Because if you're a casual baseball fan, you know who Mike Trout is, but you've never seen him on the biggest stage.
Yeah.
And it's time outside of the All-Star game he gets put on that pedestal, because he's one of the best players, not just of all time, not just of our generation, but of all time, talent-wise. Ohtani, we've never seen Ohtani in our lifetime, this kind of guy. So, and you're right, the Angels fans deserve this. Baseball fans deserve this. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, do what you got to do to signal to the other Angels. But if they make the playoffs, man, everyone's going to be locked in because they want to see Ohtani and Trout. All right. Well, staying in the AL West and staying in the state of California for now, we got to talk about the A's. This is an article from ESPN, Jeff Passan. On Thursday, Nevada Governor Joe Lombardo signed the bill pledging $380 million in taxpayer money toward a $1.5 billion stadium for the Oakland Athletics to move to Vegas, leaving only the approval of Major League Baseball to finalize the first relocation of a franchise in nearly 2 decades. So, Dan, the A's are going to Vegas.
Yeah, obviously this is pending approval by Major League Baseball owners who are expected to approve it.
Mm-hmm.
It's time. A's, and look, do I think Oakland's getting a short end? Kind of. Not really, though. Because how many times, over how many years, have the A's been given chance after chance after chance to work with the city of Oakland to build a stadium? Many, many, many chances. On the same token, Oakland has gotten many, many chances from baseball to present a idea proposal to the A's and to negotiate with the A's on a new stadium. The city didn't do enough. The city didn't do enough to save the team. And Oakland, look, the A's being the A's, being a business and being, understanding that in sports you have to go after certain ventures to make more money and to, bring good things to your franchise, are like, well, we're sick and tired of being a small market team. We're sick and tired of this money ball system, because let's be honest, that hasn't worked either. We need something to spice up the franchise. And going to Las Vegas is going to spice up the franchise. We're going to go to a growing sports city who's already a betting city. We're going to go to a growing sports market where fans are excited, where fans are accepting, where we're loved, where we're wanted, and where there's going to be success, because there's going to be a lot of people investing time, energy, money, and that's what this is all about. There should be no love for Oakland. They didn't do enough to keep their teams. They didn't do enough to keep the Warriors. They didn't do enough to keep the Raiders, and they certainly have not done enough to keep the A's. So they deserve it. Now, look, has the A's treated this like Angels? No. They haven't been nice about it. I'll admit it. They haven't been nice about it. The team is awful. The stadium's crap. But they have invested so much time and money to just try to build the idea of a stadium in Oakland, and they got nothing back.
There's a couple of things I've taken away from this whole scenario. One is, and I think I've said this on the podcast, is it's Major League, the movie Major League, because the owner, I forget, Rachel something, wants to move the team from Cleveland after her husband dies. So she gets this rat tag group of guys, and, doesn't expect anything of it. The fans choose to love them, and they start winning in spite of her. It's phenomenal stuff. If you've never seen Major League, go watch Major League. The other part is, and you said it, because the Warriors are now gone, the Raiders are now also in Vegas. There's one group of people who always lose in this situation, and it's the fans. Because let's be real honest about this. The fans don't have a say in this. But like they can go to as many games as they want, you know, and that's the cash cow. They come in, you know. But if the city can't approve of a stadium, or the city and the team can't agree on a place or a new stadium or whatnot, the fans are the ones who go, we're screwed, because you're taking something we love and you're taking it away, which led to what they called a reverse boycott night the other night, which, you know, whatever you feel on that, you feel. But the other thing is this. Everyone is so ho-gong on Vegas. NFL's there, NHL's there, both, and the Golden Knights just won the cup. The NFL has a problem in Vegas. And it's not just a Vegas thing, but it's going to be pointed out as a flaw in my mind. The NFL is a gambling problem. What's to stop a Major League Baseball player from going to a casino on an off day in Vegas and saying, hey, I'm going to put $20. I know it's nothing on my team to win or lose the next day's game. And, you know, they throw the game. Basically, it's Pete Rose syndrome. By the way, if you're putting a freaking team in Vegas, then Pete Rose should be allowed into the Hall of Fame. We should throw everything away, because now we're embracing gambling because we're going to Vegas. We have embraced everything about Vegas. So now, why is Pete Rose not in the Hall of Fame? That's a different tangent for another day. And here's the other thing. I'm going to go back to my point on ownership. Look at what the A's put out there this year. Just generalize it for this year. What are you looking forward to with these guys? Like I'm going back to Major League. They're reading the newspaper on the opening day roster at a diner. Who the hell are some of these guys? And that's the feeling you get when you look at the A's. Some of these guys you know because they've been in the major leagues before, but some of them, last chance, guys you've never heard of. And listen, I'm not putting any of them down, but as a fan, I'm supposed to get excited over this. A team that's probably going to lose 120 games. No, what you have to do, and this isn't even about spending money. It's about putting a product out there that's good enough to say, come to the ballpark, you'll have fun with it. Listen, I will be the first person to criticize the coupons, the will punts, but at least they put out a product that you could say, okay, I can go to Shea Stadium or Citi Field to watch a ball game and thoroughly enjoy it. You know, this team, what am I going to watch? So, although according to Ken Rosenthal, he believes that some of the other major league owners are going to really grill John Fisher, the owner of the A's, on this move. So, something to wait and watch. But
what are they grilling him on for?
I think basically the roster and how he spent money.
Yeah.
Honestly, if it's argument's sake, Dan, I think they're looking to see if it's intentional just to get the team to be relocated.
But everyone and their mom knows that. It's not going to change the fact that they're going to go to Vegas.
I know.
And
listen,
let's say they stay in Oakland. They're going to stay in that Coliseum?
I don't know. There's still a possum somewhere in the broadcast. You're right. The Coliseum should be torn down. We've said that for a long time. That's why the Raiders want a new stadium.
Where are you going to put the A's if they can't go to Vegas? San Jose?
I mean, that was discussed for a little bit too.
Yeah. I mean, you have to put them somewhere. I'm just saying, like, if obviously we know this is all intentional to send a message to Oakland, be like, F you guys, we're leaving. And then once we leave, we're going to get better. But even if it was intentional, the Vegas job is there. There's mutual interest between the commissioner, between the city of Vegas, Nevada, obviously, and then the A's. So what are you going to do about it?
So argument's sake, let's just say Oakland, in a last ditch effort, they figure it out and they make it safe. When Major League Baseball decides to, Stanford has talked about, Vegas is getting a team.
Oh yeah.
That whatever they're going to fund for the A's will wind up being the expansion team. So one of the expansion teams, because I'm going to presume you're putting two in, but that would be my observational guess. But listen, you're right. Oakland didn't do enough. Vegas is clamoring for it, and look, baseball needs to generate the popularity wherever they can get. There are certain teams and certain fan bases that I don't want to say don't deserve a team, but there's certain places where they don't show it. I'll say this: when the A's were good, and I'm not even talking the Moneyball years, but think about 6, 7, 8 years ago when they were making the playoffs with Bob Melvin, the Coliseum sold out.
Yeah.
So it shows when you have a good product, the people will come. Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come. Man, I am quoting baseball movies today. Maybe it's Father's Day. Maybe it's just a great day to quote baseball movies.
Baseball movies, they raised us, Mike. They
did. They did. All right. So we got some interesting series to break down for the week, but I broke it down to two kind of separate categories because we have three interdivision matchups that are awesome. First, Dan, your neck of the woods, the AL East. We got the best team in baseball, the Rays, and another team who's really good in the Baltimore Orioles, and they're going to clash this week at the Trop.
The Orioles are better than the Rays. They're the more complete team. They're the spunkier team. They have the better manager. They have the better young players. They're more complete. They're pitching. Look, this is not to brush aside the Rays. The Rays have had a good season. They've obviously took a bunch of nobodies and they're at the top of the division. Gotta give them credit where credit is due. It's mid-June. You have to do it. But the Orioles are better. Now, it doesn't mean that the Orioles are going to win all the games against the Rays. No, they can certainly lose the series too. It doesn't mean that the Rays are better. I think the Orioles are better. I think they take the series. And I'm telling you, man, that Baltimore team is scary. They're getting better. That's the problem.
You said the right word. They're spunky. They're spunky. There's something about them. You're right. This is a statement series. If they can win 2 of 3 here in Tampa and show the Rays, hey, we're not going to go away quietly, that's massive for the Orioles and those young guys. To go to your point on the Rays, and look, I love everything about the Rays. I love their pitching staff, which is, listen, they've got some kinks because they've had some injuries. Shane McClanahan's the best starting pitcher in baseball right now. He's been that good. They just got Tyler Glass now back. But there's something else you said. They take these guys who, everywhere else they've been may not play as well as they are now. but they made them into good players. You know who else does the same thing the Rays do? The Dodgers. The Dodgers did it with Justin Turner. The Dodgers have done it with a ton of people. So, and this isn't directed towards you. This is just directed towards a lot of people. Why are we questioning it when it comes to the Rays, but we don't do it when it comes to the Dodgers? It's because the Dodgers spend way more money than the Rays.
Well, and that's my point, is that the Dodgers don't have nobody on their team. Never had nobody.
No, but what I'm saying is, I'm not saying they don't. My point is, when they take the flyer on a guy, argument's sake, they tried it this year with Noah Syndergaard and just hasn't worked.
Mm-hmm.
But that's something the Rays would do. 1 year, $3 million. Would it have shocked anyone if Noah Syndergaard was 8-3 with a 2.48 ERA, something like that, if he was with the Rays? It wouldn't shock me, because this is what the Rays do. Now, do I think they're going to play at this level all year? No. Of course, they're going to come back down to earth, because everyone comes back down to earth. And sometimes you slide past earth and you come down to other places. But that being said, and again, this isn't directed towards you. This is just directed general.
No, I get it.
They're good. Respect them.
They're a good team, but to me, I guess I'm just more shocked that they continue to find ways to be in the playoff race. They continue to win. But again, it doesn't. They're a good team. I'm not saying they aren't a good team. What I'm saying is that the Rays, in comparison to the Orioles and their homegrown talent, along with some of the new guys they got, Hicks, who's been stellar. What I'm trying to say is they're the more complete team.
Oh, that's fine.
If you're comparing it to the Rays, who just have a bunch of people coming off the street, okay, fine, they're playing well. Great. To me, the Orioles are better. They have more homegrown talent, one. Two, they are hitting better. They're pitching better. They're fielding better. Everything about the Orioles, if you compare it to the Rays, are just better overall. The managing's even better. There are times where Cash kills me with some of his managerial moves.
Yeah, and that's just where analytics gets me too, because you're right. Kevin Cash does it. Dave Roberts does it. Your guy Aaron Boone does it, where they manage by the book instead of really a gut feel on it, and it does bother me at times. You're also right when it comes to the young players of the Orioles. I don't think there's a. I'm going to phrase this as best as I can. I think Adley Rutschman is the best young player in the American League.
Oh, yeah.
Because the best young player, I think, in all baseball is still Ronald Acuna, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Of course.
But you got a guy like Rutschman. You got a guy like Gunnar Henderson, who was the AL Player of the Week last week. You get guys like Ryan Mountcastle. And these guys, what they do, and you're right, they draft and they've developed them into becoming really good big league ball players. So now again, I wrote about this. I've made comments on. I want the Orioles to do what the Braves do: buy out the arbitration years on some of these deals and sign these guys long term. That way, you're not in the situation you were a couple of years ago when you had to make the decision of Chris Davis versus Manny Machado, and it's been all downhill from there. So the Orioles go to Tampa. As of today, they are 6 games in back of the Rays.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big series. The National League East, we've got the Braves going to the city of brotherly love, and they're taking on a Phillies team that is also red hot. Both teams have won 5 in a row, and both teams are 8-2 in their last 10. And look, this is the Phillies team I was expecting in April. Mm-hmm. They've got the talent, they've got the stars, and they've thought. Listen, they're 3 games over 500 now. They're playing good ball. They've been patient, which is good. And look, the Braves are looking for a little bit of revenge here.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, actually, We do have a little bit of news in the National League East.
Yeah, it's a big one.
It's a huge one for if you're a Mets fan.
So Pete Alonso, sooner, really very early, is back into the lineup. They actually sent down Vientos. So uh option, whatever the heck they want. They sent him down. Vientos is off the big league roster for now.
Which
And
is the right call.
yeah, Alonso comes back early from his wrist injury. I mean, look, I don't know if was this move made because they desperately need him in the lineup?
I'm hoping not. I'm hoping this is a case of he's actually 100%. Because yesterday they did show on the broadcast he did take some ground balls, and according to them, he was taking some swings with the bat. I'm a little surprised he's not going on a rehab assignment, at least for 1 or 2 games. But this is important. This is a huge thing for the Mets. They need it. They need his power because they don't generate enough without it. The other part about this, the flip side of to Vientos, if he's not playing every day, which he wasn't, he had to go back down because there's nothing good for a young player. There's nothing good about a young player sitting on the bench. And listen, Mets Twitter, it's a therapy group. We understand nobody really wants to see Daniel Vogel back in the DH spot, but at this point, whether it's you're going to DH Pete a couple of days now because of the wrist thing, but Vientos sitting on the bench did him no good.
Yeah,
let him go thrive in Syracuse, and if the struggles of a Vogelback continue, which I mean, it only took him 3 months. It only took 3 months to prove anything. Then they may recall Vientos, but this is something the Mets need now. Here's the one other thing for Buck, and then we can get back into Brave Phillies. What I'd really like this lineup to look like: Nemo, Marte, Lindor, Alonso, and then you put Francisco Alvarez in the 5 hole. And then we can go from there. But I would like to see Alvarez in the 5 hole. So we'll wait to see.
Vientos in 49 plate appearances since being called up in mid-May. 178, 225, 244. That's how much he slashed, and obviously barely any production. 49 plate appearances since May. I mean, it's been a month. That's very, very, very little for a young guy. So I kind of feel bad for him. I feel bad for him that didn't quite work out this time around. If the Mets are playing desperate, that's a low, massive low. That's how the team has no answer to what they need.
Yeah, so Pete Alonso back from the Mets. It's massive. Vientos down. And we'll see what happens and go from there. But back to the Braves and the Phillies. Look, said about the Phillies are playing better. The Braves are they're a juggernaut. They are. Top to bottom. Acuna. By the way, I said Ohtani's the best player in the world. You say Judge. Ronald Acuna, there's a case to be made. Ronald Acuna is the best player in baseball.
Yeah, I know.
Matt Olson is really good at first base. Albies at second base. Don't get me started on Orlando Arcia at short, because the guy doesn't do anything. Sees the Mets, lights up. Austin Riley at third. Oh, then by the way, we got 2 good catchers in Sean Murphy and Travis d'Arnaud. And their pitching staff takes hit after hit with Fried being out and Kyle Wright being out. Oh, by the way, we're going to get Mike Soroka back. Spencer Strider and his mustache are going to have over 100 strikeouts. they're a force. Brian Snitker. Listen, I don't give Brian Snitker a lot of love, mainly for my disdain of the Braves. I'll openly admit it. I know there's a lot of people who will argue against this. Brian Snitker is the best manager in baseball. Brian Snitker, every button he pushes is right. He's the best manager in baseball. I won't see otherwise.
There's not a man that can handle a bullpen better than Snitker.
By the only problem I have with
bullpen, half that bullpen doesn't really impress me, if I'm being honest with you.
No, you're right. They're not household names, but they go out and they do the job. My one big issue with Brian Snitker is this: if the T changes to a sneak, if the T in his name changes to a C, he's Brian Snicker. And who the heck likes a Snickers bar? Come on, Brian, you're better than that.
Oh my god!
All right,
dude,
so we got Braves, Phillies this week in Philly.
But you know the Phillies though, so far, in the past like couple of weeks, have actually played good baseball, and that's nothing to ignore. If I'm the Braves, I wouldn't take it lightly because you know once you have the likes of a Trey Turner starting to get going or Bryce Harper starting to get going, that's something that you cannot ignore.
If I'm the Braves, this is the one team in the division I fear. I don't fear the Marlins because I'll outslug them. I don't fear the Mets because the Braves just simply own the Mets. And the Nationals are the Nationals. And the Phillies are the one team who can match the Braves offensively. And I don't know. The problem with the Phillies is I need Aaron Nola to be an ace every time out, and I need Zach Wheeler to be an ace every time. Because if I get that, those two guys, it might be game over, and the Phillies can win the division.
Nola's not a terrible pitcher, but at times
he's inconsistent and it's frustrating.
Like I mean, that's the word. That's the one word that we have in common there. It's a frustrating sight to watch that dude pitch on every 5 days. Like, what are we gonna get out of Nola?
Yeah, and I'll watch him one start and he'll be brilliant. I'll watch him the next one and go,
and it's
not like the same guy I just watched.
Not like they're changing catchers every time.
Yeah. It's. I wonder how much his contract weighs on him when he's up at the end of the year. But, yeah, you're right. He's frustrating. You know
what he cannot be worried about contract if that's the case.
I'm not arguing with you.
He has to prove himself. If he doesn't prove himself now, like, you know,
when
just out the window.
Yeah. So the Braves go to Philly this week. The last divisional matchup we'll talk about. The Padres and the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
Going into today, the Giants are 4 up on the Padres, and the Giants are 8-2 in their last 10, and they've won 6 in a row. And listen, the Padres are 6-4 in their last 10, but they're a whole nother conversation.
Minus Tatis and maybe a couple of the sluggers. I don't like the Padres. I don't like what that team is throwing out there. I feel like they're kind of underachieving. Basically,
they are underachieving. They have underachieved.
And for a stacked lineup, as well as the pitching, I feel like the Padres can do better. I'm not saying they're going to win the division because they have the Dodgers in that division, which is also a big.
And the Diamondbacks.
And then, of course, the surprise of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Actually, another good point there. But it doesn't mean that the Padres should be stinking up some of these games like they have been. And, you know, if I'm the Giants, I take advantage of that too. I don't think this Padres team is ready. I don't think they're that serious.
Yeah, when the spotlight's on, you got to show up. And I'm going to look at a couple of guys here. Listen, I love Machado, so I'm not even going to point the finger at him because he's been hurt. I look at a Juan Soto, who looks like he's starting to get going. That's massive for that line.
I mean, Soto has had the tendency. He was like this in Washington as well, where he would get off to slow starts and then pick it up.
Yeah, so that you got Tatis. Bogarts has been pretty good. Probably need a little bit more out of Cronenworth. But I look at the other side for them pitching. Darvish was not good the other night against the Rays. He's been inconsistent. Blake Snell was brilliant last night, but they need that on a consistent level. Musgrove's just back from injury, so you'll see what you get there. And then Hader at the back end of the bullpen is as good as anybody. So there's that. And I'm going to give the Giants some credit here. Listen, Giants West is doing their thing with J.D. Davis and Michael Conforto. They've got players, and they find ways. Last year they weren't that good after winning 101 games 2 years ago, but the Giants are back. I believe they win today. They sweep the Dodgers after beating the Dodgers 15-0 last night. They put a whooping on the Dodgers. So you got that going for you this week. Other series to look for: Blue Jays Marlins could be a lot of fun. Battle of two teams in the NL: Diamondbacks Brewers. And then two interesting interleague battles. You get the Battle of Los Angeles with the Dodgers and the Angels. You're giving the Angels a lot of love, and you get the Mets and the Astros with Scherzer and Verlander will pitch in Houston.
Verlander coming back to Houston. Obviously, he's going to be a little emotional there. He had spent some great times in Houston, winning a bunch of championships. So,
and he probably will get awarded his American League Cy Young from last year when he's there as well, I would presume. So,
yeah, that would be pretty nice return for him. You guys show out in this series. You're the Mets. I mean, my only issue is that the Astros are just flat out better.
Oh, they are.
But here's the thing. If the Nationals, because Nationals actually had a pretty good series against Houston this past week, and I know that the Nats, obviously, they're an up and coming team, but if they could beat Houston, the Mets can certainly do it. Houston, even though they're obviously been better. These past couple months, they picked it up, and we expected that to happen. Even though Houston's a good team, they're not as scary as last year's team. Last year's team, we feared every single day of the season. This year, not as much. The Reds are kicking their ass.
They miss Yordan Alvarez in the middle of that lineup for sure right now.
Loss early on. Altuve was a huge loss.
Altuve was out early. That's the thing. If you're going to catch them, now's the time because they have some injuries. Some guys in the lineup haven't been great. Jose Abreu hasn't been great. Bregman's been up and down. Jeremy Pena's been up and down. So now's the time to get him. And I think you're right on Verlander. It's an emotional return for him. Max Scherzer needs a good start here. Yeah. Max Scherzer, his last two, the Braves and the Yankees, multi-run lead, he couldn't hold it. He needs to figure it out because the Mets go nowhere without Max Scherzer.
If he has another bad start, either whether it's from the beginning or whether it catches up to him later, do we start to question whether he's done, like he's shot, that he's no longer what he once was?
I'm already having those conversations. So, yeah, I think that's totally fair, to be honest with you. So,
because, the old Max Scherzer holds those big.
The old Max Scherzer holds new Max Scherzer accountable.
Yeah.
and listen, this isn't to put Max down in any way. He's always faced the media. He's always done his job. I'm not saying anything mean, but he is 40. He's going to be 40. So it's fair to say if Father Time's catching up to him, it is.
And for some pitchers, it comes very soon, like Max Scherzer. Other
Yeah,
pitchers, it may come till he's in the mid-40s.
and listen, it'd be a classic Mets thing to sign a guy at the end of their career and have him blow up.
Yeah.
Tom Glavine in 2007 comes to mind, but it's all another conversation. But that'll do it for this edition of Batter Up, sponsored by Halpern's Cards and Collectibles here on the Sports Insanity Network. You can check out the podcast version of this, Google, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Check out the YouTube video on the SIN YouTube page. You can follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter. We are at S Insane Real or S Insanity Real. It's the Twitter. Find us wherever. Check out the website, www.thesportsinsanitynetwork.com. Vlogs, planes, trains, and automobiles. And again, happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. My dad, Dan's dad. And you know what? I'll give it to him since he sponsors the show. Happy Father's Day to the old ops guy.
Absolutely, man. Thank you. Spend time with your dads. Obviously, Mark, please help your kids and your wife and all that stuff. Give you all the love and everything. For all you out there, please celebrate your dad. Me and Rifkin, we're very lucky people. We still have dads. There's a lot of people out there that don't have dads right now.
Yep.
Whether they're deadbeats, whether they're unfortunately have gone to better places. But please celebrate your dad if he's right beside you, because he deserves all the love.
Absolutely. We'll see you all again next Sunday. Thank you for tuning into this edition of Batter Up on the Sports Insanity Network, sponsored by Halpern's Cards and Collectibles. Have a good one, everybody.
Take care.